Today I am going to give you a presentation on pulse width modulation. I have already discussed about in one of my presentation of PAM, pulse amplitude modulation. Today I am giving you the brief idea, rather detailed idea of pulse width modulation, that is PWM. So this will be the outline of my today's presentation, that is all about pulse width modulation. Pulse width modulation, that means PWM modulation and PWM demodulation. That is how to generate a PWM signal and how to detect the PWM signal. Let's start. First is pulse time modulation. In pulse time modulation, amplitude of pulse is held constant. So that means amplitude is making fixed, whereas position of pulse or width of pulse is made proportional to the amplitude of the signal. So that means in this pulse time modulation, amplitude is made constant and position or width of the pulse is made proportional to the amplitude of signal at the sampling instant. If we talk about pulse time modulation, it will be two types. First one is the pulse width modulation, PWM, and another one is the pulse position modulation, that is the PPM. So today I am going to talk about pulse width modulation. Pulse width modulation is also called pulse duration modulation, PDM, pulse length modulation, PLM, or pulse width modulation, PWM. Definition is that in PWM, width of the pulses of the carrier pulse train is varied in accordance with the modulating signal. That is, definition wise, width of the pulses of the carrier is varied according to the instantaneous value of the modulating signal. So here, three figure is given. First one is the PWM modulating signal. Second one is the carrier pulse train. That is a series of pulses are there. And the third one is the PWM signal. That is after applying a modulator, PWM modulator, we get this PWM signal. See here, the width is like varies according to the instantaneous value of the modulating signal. So this is all about PWM. So now how a PWM signal is generated, I am giving you the brief description about the circuit. You see this circuit, that here two transistor is given, T1 and T2. So we know that and this arrangement is purely an stable multivibrator. Actually, it is an astable multivibrator. We know that stable state for this type of multivibrator is T1 is off and T2 is on. So it is actually a stable multivibrator. Now the applied trigger pulse switches T1 is on. That is, this trigger pulse is given at the base of T1, which is make T1 is on. Whereas the voltage of C1, that is the collector 1, falls as T1 now begins to draw collector current. So the voltage at B2, that is the base 2, this one, follows C1 and T2 is switched off by regenerative action. Okay. Now, as soon as this happens, this C begins to charge up to the collector supply potential through R. Okay, this is the R. So now this capacitor is charged through this R according to the value of capacitor and with the rising of collector voltage of T1. After a time determined by the supply voltage and RC time constant of the charging network, B2 becomes sufficiently positive to switch T2 on. Now this B2 is now sufficiently positive enough to turn on the T2 as on state. So T1 is simultaneously switched off by regenerative action and stays off until the arrival of the next trigger pulse. Okay, whenever the next trigger pulse is coming, up to that time T1 is off and T2 is on. Whenever a trigger pulse is again coming into the base 1 of T1, then again the previous things will happen. Now the voltage at the base of T2, this voltage here, must reach to allow T2 to turn on, is slightly more positive than the voltage across the common emitter resistor RK. So this voltage depends on the current flowing through the circuit, which at the time is the collector current of T1 at the time T1 is on. Now the collector current depends on the base bias, which is controlled by the instantaneous changes in the applied signal voltage. So these applied modulating voltage control the voltage of which B2 must rise to switch T2 on. And now, since the voltage rise is linear, the modulating voltage is seen to control the period of time during which T2 is off. Okay, so at this way, once T1 is on, T2 is off, and another way, T2 is on, T1 is off. So in this way, we can get the PWM generation, and here you see a pulse is generated whose width is W. This width is very important because it is a PWM, pulse width modulation. So these two next slide and these slides are giving you the detailed operation of the PWM modulation. So I already described you. So I just skip this 2 slides. So next is PWM demodulation. Now in case of PWM demodulation, now PWM signal is generated. Now this signal is coming into the PWM to PM converter. So PWM to PAM converter is there, and after receiving this PWM signal, it changes into PAM signal, and then this PAM signal is passed through the low pass filter, and which is giving out the original modulating signal or message signal. Now how this PWM demodulator circuit is working, I am giving you the operation of the circuit. Now you see in this circuit that again here 2 transistors is used, T1 and T2. Now the transistor T1 works here as an inverter. Hence, during the time interval A to B, here you see this is A to B. During the time interval A to B, when the PWM signal is high, then the input to the transistor T2 is low. Therefore, during this time interval, the transistor T2 is cut off and the capacitor C gets charged through the RC combination. So here you see a R and C is there. So it is a combination of RC network circuit. So during this operation and during the time interval BC, that is the next of this position, when the PWM signal is low, the input to the transistor T2 is now high and it gets saturated. Now the capacitor C then discharges very rapidly through T2. The collector voltage of T2 during the interval Vc is then low. So the waveform at the collector of T2 is more or less a sawtooth waveform whose envelope is the modulating signal. Now when this signal is passed through a second order op amp, you see here the op amp, and it acts as a low pass filter, we get the desired demodulated output. You see this output is coming here. This is the actual modulating signal or your message signal. So this part is your PWM to PAM converter, and this second order op amp is used as a low pass filter. And now we get the desired output of the modulating signal. So in the next slide, this operation is depicted, which I already discussed with you in this presentation. Now again, PWM demodulation, there will be, this is the block diagram of PWM detector. Now PWM signal is already generated. This is now passed through a speed trigger circuit. Then this output of the speed trigger is now given into two blocks. One part is given to the ramp generator and another part is given to the synchronization pulse generator, where a synchronized pulse is generated. An output of the ramp generator signal and the synchronized pulse generator are now, these two signals are added into an adder. And the output of the adder is given to the level shifter, which shifts the level of the signal and is then passed into a rectifier circuit, which rectifies the output, and the output of the rectifier is given into the low pass filter, and the demodulated output is coming. So this demodulated output is actually a message signal. So I discuss about the operation of this block diagram once again. So now the received PWM signal is applied to the speed trigger circuit. The speed trigger circuit removes the noise in the PWM waveform. That means if there will be some noise into the PWM signal, then this noise can be eliminated by using a speed trigger circuit. Now the received PWM or you can say the regenerated PWM is then applied to the ramp generator and a synchronization pulse detector or synchronization pulse generator. The ramp generator produces ramps for the duration of pulses such that height of the ramps are proportional to the width of the PWM pulses. This is very important. That is, from the ramp generator we get a ramp signal whose duration of pulses with a particular duration of pulses such that height of the ramps are proportional to the width of the PWM pulses. Now the maximum ramp voltage is retained till the next pulse. On the other hand, synchronous pulse detector or generator produces reference pulses with constant amplitude and pulse width. So that means synchronization pulse generator generates a constant amplitude and pulse width signals or pulses. These pulses are delayed for specific amount of delay as shown in the figure. The delayed reference pulses and the output of ramp generator is added with the help of adder. The output of adder is given to the level shifter, hence here negative offset shifts the waveform as shown in the figure of the given waveform. So this is the waveform of every steps. That is, you see here, that is the first one is the input PAM signal. Second one is the output of the speed trigger. Third one is the output of the ramp generator. Fourth is the signal of synchronization pulses. It is a constant and height and constant width. 5 is the output of the adder. That is, it's just add the waveform of 3 and 4. Then 6 is the output of the level shifter. It will shift the level. That means pulses are in the upper part of the axis, and you see these pulses are upper part of the axis and the rest of the signals are below the axis level. Next, 7th is the output of the rectifier circuit. So that means it will rectify the below of the axis. It will retain the upper part of the axis. And after passing this output into the low pass filter, we get the recovering modulating signal. We just add the corner point of these pulses. So we get a continuous like waveform, or you can say the output of 8 is actually demodulated output or modulating signal, or you can say it is a message signal. So I hope you understand these waveforms easily from the basis of the PWM demodulation, or you can say PWM detector block diagram. So this is the operation. I already told you this thing. So I skip this slide. So now PWM demodulation is now, I told you the negative part of the waveform is clipped off by the rectifier, and finally the output of rectifier is passed through the low pass filter to recover the modulating signal. So now what are the advantages of PWM? First one is noise is less. Since in PWM amplitude is held constant, in case of PAM there will be lot of noises are there. So in PWM noise is very less because amplitude is held constant. Signal and noise separation is very easy. PWM communication does not require synchronization between transmitter and receiver, which is required in case of PAM. And what are the disadvantages? In PWM, pulses are varying in width and therefore their power contents are variable, because you see that the width of the pulses are varying. So therefore the power requirement of the transmitting of pulses are variable, also varies. And this requires that the transmitter must be able to handle the power content of the pulse having maximum pulse width. And the second one is a large bandwidth is required for the PWM as compared to PAM signal. So this is all about PWM modulation and demodulation. So what we learned from this presentation, that all about the PWM, that is the pulse width modulation, modulation or generation of PWM, detection or demodulation of PWM, and advantages and disadvantages of PWM. So I hope that you will enjoy this presentation of PWM, and I hope that you are well enough aware about the knowledge about the PWM. So that's all for today, and thank you very much. Hope you all are well. Thanks a lot.